a man, who they say he murdered 3. Strange things have happened there. No stranger would it be if we met at midnight in the hanging tree.
Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Chris James. When it comes to coffee, I like mine black. I like coffee in my coffee. No additives needed. No matter how you drink your coffee, Organic Man Coffee Trike has the best coffee in the universe. 4501 McPherson is where it's at. Don't accept anything less. If it's too far to drive or you just don't want to leave the house, go to organicmancoffeetrike.shop. Coffee is good, and the best coffee is gooder. Arturo asked me about doing a show about black cats after seeing Snowball perched on the back of my chair. Yes, Snowball is black. I named her after Private Snowball Brown from Full Metal Jacket. Private Snowball had a minor part in boot camp, but the name stuck in my head. You can have black cats in just about every breed. Cat color is always dependent on their genes. I didn't know cats wore blue genes. Every cat gets 2 sets of color-coded genes, one from each parent. Some colors are recessive and some are dominant. You can have just one black cat in a litter, or all of them. Snowball had one tuxedo, one snowshoe, and one tabby as her siblings. The father is a tuxedo, and the mom is a tabby. When it comes to black cats, the gene that codes for black fur is the most dominant of all possible fur colors. If 2 cats each possess the gene for black fur and they reproduce, their offspring are likely to be all black. Even if only one parent has the gene, there's still a high probability for black kittens. The gene for black fur even masks the common agouti gene responsible for the tabby pattern. As a result, there are more black cats than any other color. Many black cats have hidden tabby markings that become visible in certain lighting, as the tabby fur pattern can remain beneath the black coat. Black cats are the most common of all cats, but not every dark-colored cat you see is truly solid black. The gene for black fur has the power to repress the gene for the tabby coat pattern, but it doesn't delete it. In cats that only have one black fur gene, the tabby pattern might still be there, often called undercover tabbies. These black cats actually have subtle stripes, swirls, or spots. When you look at them in certain lighting or at certain angles, you can see that the tabby gene hasn't been completely overridden. Snowball is all black. I checked. I checked using a flashlight. She's all black. Another misunderstanding about black cats is that they all are the same breed. There's 20 to 30 cat breeds that can have solid black members. Many European sailors considered black cats to be good luck and often sought them out to bring them on board their ships. The sailors' wives also kept black cats at home to help ensure that their husbands made it home safe. They loved black cats and considered them to be friendly, affectionate, and loving as any other cat in the color spectrum. Black cat myths and facts go back thousands of years. In some ancient cultures, cats were considered sacred or even divine. In ancient Egypt, the goddess Bastet protected women and crops. She was sometimes depicted as a woman with a cat's head, which was usually black, although there were other colors on occasion. Cats were revered throughout the community, and killing one, even if it was an accident, was a serious crime. Black cats have endured more than their fair share of defamation, but their genetics might provide certain physical advantages to other cats. Some studies suggest that the gene associated with black fur might have links to certain immune system functions. The boys in the white lab coats are still exploring whether this has any evolutionary significance or is simply a coinkydink. If you see a black cat, you're only seeing the color of their fur, not their breed. A black cat is not a breed of cat. There are many recognized cat breeds that can have solid black coats, depending on the registry with the cat association. The Bombay is the only breed that was developed specifically to be all black, exclusively black. Despite their name, this cat is actually from Louisville, Kentucky, where they were bred to look like mini black panthers. Many black cats have yellow, gold, or copper colored eyes, which is common due to shared genetic factors that influence the coat and eye pigment, though you can have cats with other colors as well. I always kind of like the black cat with green eyes, but that's pretty rare. Black coats are produced because the cat has more melanin, a pigment that contributes to the color of both skin and fur. The pigment also creates a rich amber eye, which explains why black cats often have this color eye. There are some cultures that associate black cats with good luck. For example, German folklore believed that black cats are good luck if one crosses your path going from right to left. Now, if they go from left to right, then that's bad luck. In the TV show, My Name is Earl, Larceny of a Kitty Cat, Earl and Randy are walking down the street when a black cat walks across their path. Randy says they have to wait an hour for the bad luck to dissipate. Instead, Earl decides that he's going to go back the way they came. A black cat walks across his path in that direction as well. In Japan, black cats are traditionally seen as symbols of good luck, often associated with prosperity and attracting true love. It's not uncommon for black cats to change color over the years. The reason for this is their black coat can actually become bleached out by the sun. When this happens, the dark black coat will turn to a more rusty brown color. This changing coloration happens whenever the sun breaks down the coat's pigment, revealing the tabby stripes beneath. So do not panic if your once all black mini panther suddenly starts looking a bit brownish or reddish. Black cats can be notoriously difficult to photograph. Because of their dark coloration, they can just look like a black blob with no shape. You don't see their legs or their tail, you just see black. Whenever Snowball is sitting on the back of my chair, you just see her eyeballs most of the time, even if I put a light on her. Cats were worshipped by many ancient civilizations. Some gods and goddesses were even seen as having black cat heads. Unfortunately, this love of cats did not remain very long. There's no clear origin to the idea that black cats bring bad luck. This belief most likely developed over centuries through various European folk superstitions rather than any one myth or story. The major shift against black cats happened during the Middle Ages, when things were rotten. In 1233, Pope Gregory IX put out a papal bull condemning certain heretical rituals being performed in Germany, which reportedly involved black cats. German folklore often portrayed cats as magical beings capable of moving between the human and spirit world. Many believed they could sense spirits, making them both protectors and omens. This mystical image is tied to their reputation as intermediaries between the realms. The Wild Hunt is one of Germany's most famous legends. A ghostly procession led by Wotan, the guy that Wednesday is named after. He's the god of storms. The Norse knew him as Odin. Why are the days of the week named after Norse gods? I wonder about that a lot. This legend includes a bunch of cats as companions or guides in the wild hunt. The sight of a cat during a supernatural event symbolized an omen, possibly hinting at the presence of spirits or ghosts nearby. Cats appearing during storm weather could signal the approach of the wild hunt. These cats were often thought to possess otherworldly powers, their behavior and appearance hinting at supernatural events unfolding around them. Their presence in the wild hunt legend emphasizes their place as mystical and mysterious animals in German culture. One man's self righteous declaration may have led to centuries of misinformation and very bad luck for cats. The tradition is common enough that some animal shelters will not allow their black cats to be adopted during October. They fear that individuals will try to harm them during this time. Sacrificing a black cat is considered a thing by the less informed. Black cats are not associated with witchcraft or Satanism as commonly today as they were in the Middle Ages, but there are still some people that think they are. We now have the National Black Cat Day, which is on October 27th. I didn't know that we had such a thing. Black jaguars are sometimes misidentified as being black panthers, which are not actually a species, but they are popularly used for melanistic leopards and jaguars, which have dark pigmentation. Both big black cats are part of the genus Panthera, but leopards are found in Africa and Asia, while jaguars are found in the Americas. A rare variant within the jaguar species is estimated to be about 11% of the jaguars have this dark coloration. Black jaguars may appear to be all black, but they actually have spots if you can get close enough to have a look, which is not a good thing to do since jaguars have been known to attack crocodiles. Black jaguars live alone, marking their large territories by going to the bathroom everywhere, and scratching trees, leaving their distinctive markings. They can kill just about anything, even animals that are bigger than them. There are no black cougars. Well, not in the cat family anyway. They're not black mountain lions, pumas, or catamounts. There are no black animals like that. Why do mountain lions have so many names? There are small, well, big cats known as jaguarundi that do come out as all black. They are easily identifiable because their tail is as long as their body. In books and movies and TV shows, black cats are usually portrayed as everything from warlocks, shapeshifters, or sometimes just as being a cat. In Hocus Pocus, Thackeray Binks is a teenage boy who's cursed by the witches and he's changed into an immortal black cat. Binks is more serious and emotionally grounded. He carries the sadness of his past and uses his long life to protect others from falling into the same danger up until that one kid shows up with a lighter. You know, he stole that lighter that he keeps using. Cobweb is the black cat from Hocus Pocus 2. He's part of the newer group of magical characters. Unlike Binks, he doesn't talk, but he still has a strong presence in the movie. Isis. Any of y'all remember a black cat named Isis? She was in Star Trek, the real one with William Shatner. She looked like a regular black cat, but she's actually part of the bigger plan. Isis can change into a human form in order to help her partner on his secret mission. His name was Gary Seven. She doesn't speak, but she does have a big part in the show, uh, turning into a woman at the end of the show and giving a few people a bit of a scare. Pluto, the black cat from Edgar Allan Poe's 1843 short story, changes from being a pet to a symbol of psychological horror. Initially, the narrator's companion suffers terrible abuse as his owner descends into alcoholism and violence. The cat's death and apparent supernatural return to the living drive the plot's chilling conclusion. Everybody thinks of the the creature as being more than just a black cat. Felix the cat, the wonderful, wonderful cat, emerged as one of the animation's first superstars, debuting in 1919 during the silent film era. He also was the very first ever TV star. Yes, that's Chance looking in the camera. Uh, Felix was the first ever TV star when the technicians were trying to get a projected image from the camera to a TV set. They placed a Felix statuette on a turntable and then filmed him, broadcast the signal to a TV set, and then watched him going around in a circle. The very first TV star. He was created by Otto Mesmer and Pat Sullivan. He quickly became a cultural phenomenon. Gigi, the talking black cat from Kiki's Delivery Service, stands out as one of animation's most charming animal companions. The young witch Kiki's familiar. He provides commentary, companionship, and once in a while, comic relief. When the cartoons were made in Japan, Kiki was a normal character. But when they translated the voice into English, they gave her more sarcasm. Snowball, too, has been the contestant in the a contestant, a constant character in The Simpsons. As the family's pet cat, she often blends into the background, watching the chaos unfold from the sidelines while the Simpsons go about their day to day weird lives. In Cinderella, Lucifer is the pampered cat of the wicked stepmother, Lady Tremaine. He's not just spoiled, but he's also mean, sly, and he just loves making life harder for Cinderella and her mouse friends. Berlioz is one of the Duchess's three kittens in the Aristocats. He's the shy, quiet one who plays the piano. Sakamoto is a black cat who lives with Professor and Nano in Nichiju. Thanks to a red scarf, it lets him talk. He believes he's the most mature member of the household. Despite his serious tone and desire to be respected, he often gets treated like a regular house cat. Kuro is a small two-tailed cat spirit who once served as a familiar to Shiro Rin's adoptive father. He looks cute and tiny, but Kuro can change, becoming a much larger, more powerful beast, especially when he needs to protect his caregivers. There was a grinning black cat in Lewis Carroll's classic novel, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. Disney turned him into a pink and purple striped cat, but in the book he's black. Known for his distinctive mischievous grin and the ability to disappear, leaving only the floating grin behind, the Cheshire Cat perplexes and frustrates Alice with his cryptic comments and questions. He's also acting as the guide for Alice in Wonderland, but he seems to enjoy leading her astray as much as actually leading her to where she needs to be. The Cheshire Cat's enigmatic personality makes it one of the most memorable characters in Alice's stories. Then there's the Cheshire Cat in the Jasper Fforde Thursday Next books. The Cheshire Cat is a fictional character who appears in Lost in a Good Book, The Well of Lost Plots, and Something Rotten. If you haven't read these books, what are you waiting for? If you enjoy reading, I mean really enjoy a good book, you need to read Jasper Fforde's writings. If you didn't read the book, I'll wait right here while you go get a copy, read it, and then I'll start talking again. Okay, you're back from reading your book. The Cheshire Cat is the head librarian of the great library in the book world. He's an encyclopedic authority on all the books that they have, knowing not only their locations, but how many times they have been read and which books are currently being read. He's also known by several other names. He's known as the cat formerly known as Cheshire, the Unitarian Authority of Warrington Cat, because the border between the two counties had been moved, and his mother calls him Archibald. The Cheshire's cat role is tied to the series' metafictional and literary themes. His knowledge of all things book helps Thursday solve a lot of the mysteries in the book world, and quite a few outside of it as well. In Rudyard Kipling's book, The Jungle Book, there was a wise Black Panther that helped Mowgli. He teaches jungle law and language. Bagheera is there to see to it that Mowgli manages to grow up without finding himself on the menu. The Black Panther is the most level headed member of the story, more so than Mowgli. There's a tiger named. Wait a minute. Are there tigers in the jungle? A lot of people who are sort of familiar with the Jungle Book believe that it takes place in the African jungle. Nay, nay. It took place in India, in the Madhya Pradesh. Rudyard Kipling was born December 1865 in Bombay, British India. Kipling's parents considered themselves to be Anglo-Indians, a term that was used by 19th century British people that lived in India. When Shere Khan, the tiger that lives in the jungle, because it's in India, decides that he wants to make Mowgli into a meal, Bagheera shepherds Mowgli to the Man village, where he may find safety. Gomez Adams' companion in the Addams Family franchise is named Azrael, who is also a giant black cat. He's big enough that people can ride him around the house. You never saw him in any of the movies. This was back when it was a comic strip and cartoon. There are also many real life black cats that seem to go above the normal house cat role. Gimo is a real life black cat from South Korea who became famous online for his huge round eyes and fluffy face. He looks like a living cartoon character with wide, curious eyes that stare straight into your soul. All cats can stare into your soul. Tingaling is a real life black cat known for hiking through Norway's landscapes with her human companion. Dressed in a harness and often seen perched on mountaintops or tucked into a backpack, she became a symbol of feline courage and outdoor companionship. Nathan is an internet famous black cat from Australia who defies the typical feline fear of water. She loves swimming in the ocean with her humans and has become a viral sensation for her beachside adventures. Rover gained viral fame on TikTok for talking using buttons that play recorded words when pressed. With a sleek black coat and expressive personality, Rover uses his buttons to ask for treats, playtime, and simply to say that he loves you. Pepper became an internet famous thanks to his perfect white mustache, which gave him the characteristic of a 20th century man with a curled mustache. White fur against a all black background. Photos of him lounging with his fancy expression have gone viral across social media. There are several black cats named Blackie. Some have become famous while others became rich. One cat named Blackie was owned. Well, nobody actually owns a cat. You care for them. You don't own them. Anyway, Ben Ria, who had made his fortune buying and selling antiques, which allowed him to give his cats the pampered life that he felt and they believed they were entitled to. Blackie was the last survivor of 15 cats who lived with Ben in his mansion in Dorey, Buckinghamshire, who inherited most of his cash. Ben had family, but I guess he didn't much like 'em, so he cut 'em out of his will. Can you imagine? You've got a super wow rich relative, and you find out he left everything he had to his cat. Blackie was left $12.5 million, which in today's coin is about $32 million. A lot of Ben's money was also split between three cat charities, along with instructions that they had to look after his private pet, Blackie, until his last days. He also left a lot of money to his gardener and his mechanic, but not to his family. A black cat living in the seaside English town of Saltburn by the Sea serves as the unofficial mascot of the town. Once again, Blackie is often sighted strolling around town. Different Blackie. A Blackie has been bringing good fortune to the town, and especially protecting it from any bad storms. It's the thing to get a picture of yourself with Blackie sitting next to you. That's the in thing if you ever go to Southburn by the Sea. Oscar, that was his original name, was a black cat who served aboard the German battleship Bismarck before the ship was sunk. British sailors spotted the black cat floating on a piece of wood and brought him on board the HMS Cossack, and he was given the name Sam. The Cossack was struck by a German torpedo. Rescue ships found Sam floating on some debris and took him aboard the HMS Ark Royal. When the HMS Ark Royal was sunk, the cat was once more found and rescued. I think somebody was trying to kill that cat. Sam's ability to escape death saw him dubbed as Unsinkable Sam in the press. And then the story of the 9 lives had a little more proof that it was possible. He kept serving up until his retirement, when he was actually given a place in the old sailor's home, where he lived until his last days. In Britain, the government buildings have a rat and mouse problem. Instead of using chemicals or traps, they turned to using cats. The United Kingdom's Treasury Office is home to Gladstone, the resident chief mouser, who is tasked with keeping the facilities mouse-free. Gladstone was named after the Prime Minister, and he now patrols the historical government buildings as part of a larger group of chief mouser cats that catch rodents across the UK government offices. With a specially designed collar that shows his important occupation status, this prestigious black cat helps maintain the British tradition of using cats to protect notable buildings and artifacts as far back as medieval times. No, I am not the other anything. I am me. If you recognize that quote, we must be really good friends. Coraline is the 2002 British fantasy horror children's novella written by Neil Gaiman. Her name was actually Caroline. No, really, it was actually Caroline with an A, but Gaiman accidentally did the old keystroke error when writing her name. And then once he saw Coraline, he got to thinking a girl with a name like that has a story to tell. I think personally it really added something to the story. How many times does somebody call her Caroline and then she corrects them? No, it's Coraline. Gaiman started writing Coraline in 1990 for his first daughter. She grew up faster than he could write, so he shelved the story. When his second daughter came along, Gaiman decided that he would get the book finished before she got too old to enjoy it. It was published in 2002. The cat is one of the major supporting characters in the story. He demonstrates the ability to appear and disappear on a whim, often hiding from danger or helping Coraline hide from danger. For unexplained reasons, he's able to speak in the other world, but not in the real world. In the movie, the cat is known to be Coraline's sneaky, sarcastic companion. His first appearance was on a pathway that Coraline was taking, heading down looking for the well. Then she runs into YB. YB was not in the book. He was added to the movie because the producers thought that Coraline needed a friend closer to her own age. Besides a few appearances, either snarling at Coraline or playing the role of Wybe's companion, the cat's first major appearance is when he suddenly starts talking to Coraline in the other world. Upon noticing that he doesn't have button eyes, Coraline questions how he's able to speak, remarking that cats can't talk back home. The cat sarcastically replies that she is clearly the expert in these things. After all, I'm just a big fat wuss puss, which was a remark that she had made to him earlier. Upon realizing that the cat is the same one that she met by the well, Coraline immediately apologizes for insulting him. He tells her he's been going to and from the other world for a while, despite the other mother's attempts to keep him away. The cat tries to warn Coraline about the real nature of the other world, remarking that the other YB told him all about it. He states that even if the other YB can't speak, cats have far superior senses to those of humans, but he is cut off mid sentence upon hearing a suspicious noise, and he trots off after it. If you haven't read the book or seen the movie, I'm not going to spoil it for you. Yes, it's a kid's story. Maybe not the kind of book you want to read to your kid just before bedtime, but it's still, I think, a pretty good book. When my truck broke down up in Taylor, Texas, and I wound up standing in the front door of an HEB waiting for my wife to come pick me up, I had my Kindle with me, and so I read Coraline. I think it took maybe 4 hours. That and walking down the street to the nearest coffee shop so I could keep my humor up. Hate it when I break down, especially when I break down way far from home. Celtic. I keep doing that. I've seen it pronounced both ways, Celtic and Celtic. It depends on who you want to listen to. Celtic mythology gives us the story of the cat Sith, which is also spelled Sidhi or Si, which is also means fairy cat. A fairy in the form of a black cat. The cat Sith is typically described as being a black cat the size of a dog with a white spot on its chest. Sounds like the cat I used to have named Fritz. Fritz was all black, but he had a white triangle. The Scottish people believe that the cat Sith will seek out funerals with the intentions of stealing the soul of the departed before it could be claimed by the gods by walking over the body. In order to avoid this, it was customary to hold overnight wakes, as in staying awake all night. in order to keep the cat away from the body until it could be buried. The participants in these late night wakes were tasked with distracting the cat by using catnip, toys, games, music, anything to keep the cat from walking over the body. While the name of the cat Sith implies that it is a fairy, there are other stories that indicate that they were in fact witches who could transform into cats. They could change from human to cat and back again, but they could only do this 8 times. On the ninth transformation, they would be stuck as a cat for the rest of their lives. On Halloween, people would leave out milk for the cat Sith, hoping to be blessed and not cursed. I might do that this year. The Matagot is a blessing and a curse. A Matagot, also spelled Mandagot, otherwise known as the Chat d'Argent, or the money cat. Well, there I go, trying to speak French again. Chat d'Argent. My wife speaks French. I pretend I can speak English. The money cat is a magical creature from the folklore of southern France. A Madagat most often takes the form of a black cat, but it can also take the form of other animals such as a fox, a rat, dog, cow, you name it, anything magical. Madagats are considered to be evil in nature. However, if you capture one properly and care for it, they will provide great benefits for their captor. For every meal the Madagot's master feeds them, they will leave behind a gold coin. The Madagot would provide wealth and good fortune to its owner, usually in the form of a gold coin, sometimes in silver. The other important condition if you capture a Madagot is you must release it from its servitude before you die. If the Madagot is still bound to you as you lie dying, it will make your final days miserable. If you think you can agree to these conditions, you can lure a Madagot out of hiding with fresh chicken. If you can scoop it up and walk all the way home without looking back, you have scored yourself a money cat. Remember to let him go before you die, though. 1968, Margaret O'Brien and her husband bought a run-down house near Dublin with the intentions of renovating it and opening it as a center for the arts. What they didn't take into consideration was the house they had bought was next to the Killikay estate, formerly used by the Hellfire Club and was widely thought to be haunted. Dublin, Ireland hosts legends of the frightening black spectral cat known as the Black Cat of Kilkee, that haunts the Hellfire Club on Mount Pellier Hill near the city. The abandoned hunting lodge has been reported ghost sightings since the 18th century, including stories of a huge black creature that many people describe as a giant cat. The Black Cat of Killikee status as a local boogeyman persists, playing upon superstitions about black cats, witches, and haunted buildings. The O'Briens had the men that were working on the renovations live on the property in order to complete the job more quickly. Soon the workmen were reporting eerie sounds coming across the state grounds in the middle of the night, most notably growling of a giant wild animal. Deciding to inspect these claims for herself, Mrs. O'Brien found herself face to face with an enormous black cat with glowing red eyes standing in her hallway. She said that it glowered at her with a hateful and menacing look, then disappeared. After a few more encounters with this spectral cat of Killikee House, Mrs. O'Brien called a local priest to perform an exorcism in order to drive out this ghastly cat beast. Afterwards, there were no more sightings of the cat. The art center was able to open. Guests were able to stay there unharmed until a group of drunken actors decided to hold a seance, after which the cat started showing up again, haunting the house. There's a British folktale known as the King of the Cats, which deals with the idea that we might be surrounded at all times by supernatural society of which we know nothing. In the story, the wife of a gravedigger, sitting at home with her black cat, Old Tom, is waiting for her husband. He bursts in through the door with a panicked look in his eyes, and he asks, "Who's Tommy Tildum?" He then explains that he and his partner were digging a grave when they heard meowing approaching them. They looked up and they saw 9 black cats with white spots on their chests, carrying a tiny cat-sized coffin. The largest cat approached the gravediggers. His eyes were flashing with red light, and he said in a cat-sounding voice, "Tell Tom Tildrum that Tim Tildrum is dead." Confused at these instructions and terrified by what he had just seen, the gravedigger ran all the way home to his wife, who in turn had no idea who Tom Tildrum was. Their cat, Old Tom, who had been listening to this conversation, jumped out of his wife's lap and announced, "What? Old Tom is dead? Then I am the king of the cats." At this, Old Tom ran up the chimney and was never seen again. An early mention of the king of cats can be found in William Coxton's 1481 print of a book. This is the table of the history of the Reinhard the Fox. Why is such a long name? In William Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet, Tybalt is referred to by Mercutio as Prince of the Cats. And though this is more likely a reference to Tilbert in Reinhard the Fox, it demonstrates the existence of the phrase from at least the 16th century in England. Beware the Cat, written in 1553, the first published in 1561, known as the first horror fiction text that was longer than a short story, and possibly the first novel ever published in England, contains 2 traditional tales about cats which appear in similar forms both before and after its publication, of which the King of the Cats is a notable example, not exception. My cats are over here messing around behind my microphone, and I have to keep an eye on them, and that makes me lose my place in my notes. A king or a lord of the cats appears in at least 2 early Irish tales, most notably some versions of the Proceedings of the Great Bardic Institution, which led to the bard first cursing all mice, killing a dozen of them, and then the cat as well that was supposed to keep the mice in check. In retaliation, the king of the cats hunts him down, intent on killing him, but it is stopped by Saint Ciaran. Cats are connected in many folklore traditions with the supernatural and supernatural beings, such as elves and fairies. Welsh legend tells of an enormous black cat known as Cath Palug, whose name is traditionally said to mean Palug's cat, but which might derive from the meaning clawing or scratching. Cath Palug was born from a giant white pig. You know, this happens all the time. Pigs giving birth to cats. It had a sibling, or it had several siblings. One was a wolf, one was an eagle, both of which were sources of terror on the British Isles. The pig's owner, seeing this giant monster cat, threw it into the sea, where it then swam ashore in Inglesea. In the Welsh poem Ga Dur, no, Pa Gur, Pagur, or What Man, Cath Palug is said to have killed 180 warriors before he was killed by Sir Kay, Arthur's older brother. In French versions of the stories, Arthur himself is the one battling with Cath Palug, whose name is often rendered as Chapalou in French. Arthur faces the devil cat after it has terrorized the countryside. Arthur managed to kill the cat with his shield, but this isn't always the case. In some stories, the cat escapes. According to the Journal of the Siam Society, Thai ghost lore tells of spirits known as Pai, which can be either good or bad. These can range from the Pai Ruin, which is a garden angel or of the house, the Pai Kahong, which looks like a person with bird feathers and it eats poop. The Pai Pong Kong, which is a black monkey that sucks blood out of people's toes at night. One such spirit is the Pai Chakla, or just Chakla, which looks like a cat with completely black fur. The Chakla are typically under the command of a jungle sorcerer who sends these cats out to attack their enemies. Besides being completely black, the Chakla can be recognized by the fact that its fur grows backwards. It lays down facing the head, not the tail. Despite the fact that the ghost is meant to be the shaman's killing machine, it is nevertheless somewhat skitterish around humans. It only comes out at night, and if it sees a human, it will dig a hole and then hide in it. The Chakala can kill with just a look or the touch. Anyone that sees or touches a Chakla is going to die. Sightings of a ghostly black feline go back to at least the 19th century, just after the Civil War. A night watchman was approached by a black cat that got larger and larger as it got closer, until it was the size of a tiger. This monster cat knocked the guard to the ground and then disappeared from sight. Legend says that the demon cat appears just before a national tragedy, such as a presidential assassination. Other legends claim that those who witness this cat will die of fright. The cat's existence includes paw prints embedded in concrete in the Senate rotunda, and the letters DC are imprinted in other locations. This is all in the Capitol building. Among the various types of cryptids believed by some to roam our Earth, one subcategory is known as the phantom cats, or alien big cats, ABCs. Despite the fantastic name, these cats are neither ghosts nor extraterrestrials. They're rather large cats, like lions and jaguars, that were kept by humans years ago and then released or they escaped. One such phantom cat is the Blue Mountain Panther, which is a large black cat that is sighted in the Blue Mountain area west of Sydney, Australia. It's been seen now for over 100 years. In the past century, there have been hundreds of reports of encounters with a black, panther sized cat in this area. The only evidence to date has been eyewitness accounts, mutilated cattle, and cat like scratches on trees. In recent years, reports have become more frequent, including a young boy who was said he was scratched by a large black cat. Man, the cough has caught me. Not my cats, they're both asleep. The dog's asleep too. Don't know where the other up there's another cat also asleep. Anyway, those who believe that the panther isn't just a large house cat think maybe this creature or descendants of this creature were either cougars imported from America to be used as guard animals at gold mines or military mascots left behind after World War II. But remember, there are no black mountain lions. The most famous superstition about black cats is their bad luck, especially if one walks across your path. As far back as ancient Greece, legends told of a servant transformed into a black cat by the goddess Hera, who then went on to become the attendant of Hecate, the goddess of witchcraft. By the Middle Ages, black cats were among the most common animals believed to be familiars of witches, and it was generally believed that many witches could take on the form of a black cat themselves. As panic over witchcraft grew in Europe, cats often bore the brunt of superstition and were not treated nicely. The strange thing is, the Black Death, the bubonic plague, came along shortly after all the cats were being taken away. The association between black cats and witches and devil worship has only somewhat diminished in popular consciousness. Even in modern times, urban myth often tell of devil worshippers and other unsavory sorts sacrificing black cats to Satan on Halloween. They talk about it here every year, here in Laredo. Jewish folklore often relates cats to demons. In Sephardic folktale, it is believed that Lilith, who was Adam's first wife, the one that refused to be his lesser companion, was cursed and thrown out of the Garden of Eden before Eve came on the show. The black cat was called El Brushra. This demon cat prowls around looking for its favorite prey, newborn babies. And when it finds them, it sucks their blood out. As a result, it was a custom for mothers never to leave their babies alone unless they were at least 9 days old. One story of this demonic cat tells of a nurse who has to leave a mother and a baby alone for a moment. When she returns, the mother tells her she had just dreamt of a black cat had snuck into her room. It then took the baby from the bed and threw it out the window to another cat that was waiting outside. The nurse realized that this was not a dream. When she looked out the window, she saw two black cats running away carrying the baby. In The Well of Lost Plots by Jasper Fforde, Thursday Next encounters a bunch of big cats that want to eat her. One tells the others they have to wait for Big Martin to get there. Soon a huge cat shows up, but instead of eating Thursday, he says they have to wait for Big Martin. An even bigger cat comes along, but instead he insists they must wait for Big Martin. I had to look this reference up. Jasper Fforde doesn't just make references like this on a whim. A lot of times there's a story behind the story. A spooky American folktale. Wait till Martin gets here. A traveling preacher takes shelter in an abandoned mansion during a storm. Soon he hears a sound and he looks up and he sees a large black cat curled up in the coals of the fire. It looks the preacher up and down and it says, "Wait until Martin comes." Minutes later, a second black cat shows up. This one is the size of a large dog. It enters the room. It asks the first cat, "What do we do with the preacher?" The first cat says, "We should do nothing until Martin comes." A third cat, this one the size of a tiger, walks into the room. It looks at the preacher and it says, "What shall we do with him?" "We should not do anything until Martin comes." The preacher leaps to his feet, runs to the door, and as he's about to leave the building, he says, "When Martin gets here, tell him I had to go." And with that, he leaves. If you really like reading, and I mean really wild stories, I highly recommend anything Jasper Fforde has written. And he has written a lot of books. He's right up there with Terry Pratchett and Douglas Adams. But he's still alive. If you enjoyed tonight's show, spread it around. Let other people know that they should be listening as well. And if you didn't like the show, why are you still listening? If you got a story you'd like me to share in my next book, or just a subject you'd like to hear me talk about on the show, you can contact me at strangethings@arkanasa.com. Until next time, this is Chris James.
Are you coming to the tree where they strung up a man who they say he murdered 3? Strange things have happened there. No stranger would it be if we met at midnight in the hanging tree.